This isn't a war fought with tanks, crossing borders, or jets swarming the skies. This is a war that began in silence, in back rooms, in intelligence briefings that the public never sees. For decades, two of the most powerful states in the Middle East, Iran and Israel, have been locked in a conflict that most of the world has barely noticed. There are no formal declarations, no official battle lines. Yet, behind the scenes, this rivalry has reshaped the balance of power across an entire region. To understand this hidden war, we have to go back to its ideological roots. After the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran, the new leadership took a deeply hostile stance toward Israel, seeing it as an illegitimate state and an extension of Western dominance. Israel, in turn, began to see Iran not just as a regional rival, but as a long-term, existential threat. As Iran developed its missile capabilities and pushed forward with its nuclear program, Israeli defense planners started preparing for a conflict that might never be officially declared, but would be fought relentlessly in the shadows. What followed wasn't conventional warfare. Iran began building what experts call a ring of fire around Israel. Instead of attacking directly, Iran armed and funded allied groups across the region. In Lebanon, Hezbollah grew into a powerful militia armed with tens of thousands of rockets. In Gaza, Hamas developed sophisticated rocket and tunnel networks. In Syria and Iraq, Iranian-backed militias expanded their reach. Through these proxies, Iran gained the ability to pressure Israel from multiple fronts without exposing itself to immediate, direct retaliation. Israel responded, not by invading Iran, but by adapting its own military doctrine. The strategy became simple: disrupt, delay, and degrade. Instead of a head-on confrontation, Israel focused on preventing Iran from establishing a permanent military foothold in neighboring countries. Airstrikes in Syria became almost routine. Weapons convoys were destroyed before they could reach Hezbollah. Storage depots were hit before missiles could be transferred. These strikes were rarely acknowledged publicly, but their frequency revealed a clear and consistent policy. Israel would not allow Iranian forces to set up camp on its borders. But this battlefield wasn't just limited to airstrikes and militias. It soon expanded into cyberspace. One of the earliest and most famous examples of this was the Stuxnet virus, widely believed to be a joint American and Israeli operation. This piece of malware infiltrated Iranian nuclear facilities and physically damaged the centrifuges used for uranium enrichment. It caused real-world destruction using only digital code. This was a turning point. War no longer required just bombs. Lines of code could now achieve what explosives once did. Over the years, Israeli infrastructure faced numerous attempted attacks, targeting water systems, financial institutions, and transportation networks. Israel retaliated with its own cyber operations, reportedly disrupting Iranian ports and logistical systems. Both sides denied their involvement. Both publicly downplayed the damage. But for cybersecurity experts, the pattern was clear. A persistent, escalating digital war was underway. At the same time, targeted assassinations began to shape the psychological dimension of this shadow war. Over the past decade, several of Iran's top nuclear scientists were killed in mysterious operations. The methods were incredibly sophisticated: magnetic bombs attached to cars, remote-controlled machine guns, and other precision strikes. These assassinations sent a powerful message that went beyond their immediate impact. They demonstrated reach. They suggested deep intelligence penetration into Iran's most secure programs. For Iran, it exposed critical vulnerabilities. For Israel, it reinforced deterrence through sheer unpredictability. The sea became another front in this conflict. Oil tankers linked to Iranian shipments were reportedly sabotaged in the Mediterranean and Red Seas. In return, ships connected to Israeli interests were struck. These maritime attacks were often blamed on unknown actors, but analysts widely saw them as just another part of the same shadow campaign. Suddenly, shipping lanes, insurance costs, and global energy markets all became indirect casualties of this invisible confrontation. In Syria, the conflict grew even more intense. After the Syrian civil war weakened the central government, Iran seized the opportunity to expand its influence, embedding military advisors, militias, and advanced weapons systems. Israel saw this as an unacceptable strategic threat. In response, its air campaigns targeting Iranian-linked facilities in Syria ramped up significantly. Air defense systems were tested again and again. Each strike carried the risk of escalation, of pulling both nations into a wider war. But neither side ever crossed that final threshold. The danger of a miscalculation was, and still is, immense. A barrage of rockets fired by a proxy group could provoke a massive retaliation. An airstrike could accidentally kill a senior Iranian commander. A drone flying across a border could be misinterpreted as the start of an invasion. On several occasions, tensions have spiked to dangerous levels, bringing the two sides perilously close to direct confrontation. Yet each time, calculated restraint has prevailed. Both governments understand that the cost of an open, all-out war would be catastrophic for the entire region. As technology evolved, so did the tactics. Drones, or unmanned aerial vehicles, became central to this shadow war. Iran invested heavily in producing its own drones, supplying various models to its allies across the Middle East. These drones can often bypass traditional radar systems, delivering explosive payloads with deadly precision. In response, Israel developed advanced interception systems and electronic warfare countermeasures. It became a war of drone versus drone, signal versus signal. Constant adaptation became the defining feature of the conflict. Beyond the physical operations, an information war also intensified. Media narratives, social media campaigns, and psychological operations were all deployed to target both domestic and international audiences. Each side worked to shape public perception, to present itself as the defender and portray the other as the aggressor. Public opinion became a strategic battleground, influencing diplomatic alliances and international relations. Economic sanctions added yet another layer. The international pressure on Iran's economy directly affected its military funding and internal stability. Israeli strategists calculated that a weaker Iranian economy meant a reduced ability to project power. In response, Iran doubled down on asymmetric strategies, investing in cheaper, cost-effective tools, like drones and cyber units, instead of expensive, conventional forces. This approach allowed Iran to challenge a technologically superior adversary, without having to match it tank for tank or jet for jet. Even after decades of this indirect warfare, the risk of it all boiling over has never disappeared. Every covert operation is a form of strategic signaling. When Israeli jets strike deep inside Syria, it signals intelligence superiority. When Iranian-backed militias launch rockets, it signals reach. When a cyber attack shuts down a critical system, it signals technical capability. Every single move is both tactical and symbolic. What makes the Iran-Israel shadow war so historically significant is not just how long it has been going on, but the very model of conflict it represents. It's a shift away from traditional state-on-state warfare to a new kind of hybrid conflict. It blends espionage, cyber-sabotage, proxy militias, economic pressure, targeted killings, and limited military strikes into one continuous, low-intensity struggle. This model allows both sides to compete aggressively while avoiding the immense political and human cost of a declared war. Yet, the situation remains incredibly fragile. A single large-scale strike, a miscalculated retaliation, or a misinterpreted signal could still tip the balance into open conflict. Military analysts constantly debate scenarios that could lead to massive missile exchanges, a regional war, and the involvement of global superpowers. Such a war would not stay contained. It would pull in allies, shatter global energy markets, and completely reshape global security. For now, however, the conflict continues in its ambiguous form. It is a contest of patience, of intelligence services, and of innovation. Israel continues to prioritize preventing its strategic encirclement. Iran continues to prioritize its own deterrence through a network of regional alliances. Neither side is publicly declaring war, yet neither side is truly at peace. The Iran-Israel shadow war has already redefined what modern warfare can look like. It shows us that projecting power no longer depends solely on conventional armies. It depends on networks, on cyber expertise, on intelligence, then on the ability to strike indirectly but effectively. It shows us that the battlefield is no longer just a physical place. It now exists in our servers, our financial systems, our trade routes, and even in the stories we are told. In the end, this is not just a regional rivalry. It is a case study of how the conflicts of the future will likely unfold. Silent, distributed, and persistent. The world may not see the front lines, but the consequences are felt globally. Because in the 21st century, wars are not always announced. Sometimes, they are simply ongoing. Thanks for watching. Then, if you found this interesting, be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into global affairs.